A guy who ran a lot of straight lines coming up in a few minutes. I mean, he played with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Southern Cal
grad. Lynn Swann, how you doing, Lynn?
I'm doing fine, thanks. How are you?
Good. We were talking about Marv Levy. We just had him on, and he was talking about coaching and relating to players, and he wants to get back to coaching if he can.
I remember when he was coaching at San Diego. I was actually working in broadcasting in the off season in Los Angeles. He was named the coach. I went down for a press conference, and one of the members of the media pointed me out and said, "Hey, maybe you'd like to have a receiver like him." And he looked at me and he said, "Well, I don't know if you can play, but we may have an open tryout. You're welcome to come." And someone said, "Well, I think he's already played a little bit of football." And he goes, "Oh, my apologies. I'm sorry." Good guy, though. Good guy.
You had a great coach you played for, too, a Hall of Famer, Chuck Noll. I mean, this guy just won Super Bowl after Super Bowl, and then he retires, and you don't hear a word from him.
Well, I mean, Chuck was not a guy who was going to be a broadcaster, and he was not looking to get into the media. Matter of fact, if you recall Chuck's demeanor and personality, he gave it all to the players and to everyone else, and didn't have a coach's show or didn't have any of those things because he just chose not to have that life in the media beyond being the coach of a championship football team.
Nowadays, it seems you can't even get an interview to be a coach unless you have that in your DNA that you want to be on TV. You want to be in front of a microphone. You want to be in the media.
Not so much that you want to be in front of it, but that you can at least handle the necessity of interviews and being questioned and being challenged by people and having to deal with that on a constant basis.
I mean, it's a whole different world. I mean, Terry Bradshaw was your quarterback. I mean, he loves the media spotlight now. But, I mean, the quarterback now, the Steelers, Roethlisberger, I mean, he is under constant criticism from the media. Maybe it's justified, maybe it's not. What do they think in Pittsburgh about what's going on with him?
Well, it's the time. It's there's not a single thing that seems not to be captured. People walking around with cameras and phones in their cameras and trying to record anything and everything. The news media now has an open channel for anybody with a picture that can augment coverage of anything they're doing, floods, disasters. Send it in and it makes air. But I mean, it's a media background and having an ability to communicate, I think has always been important. I mean, when you take into consideration, as we're celebrating the 100th birthday of President Reagan, the centennial year, he began as a sports announcer at Iowa, covering football games. And his ability to articulate and communicate a message that people could understand and grasp was one of his great assets as he became governor of California and of course, eventually president of the United States.
Yeah, I remember him as the host of, GE Theater and the 40 Mule Team Borax and all that stuff way back in the day on television. And he was just a friendly face who was able to segue himself into politics.
Yeah, and he loved football. He broadcast football. Had teams come to the White House. He was in Los Angeles in the 90s, I believe it was, and he was giving a speech at a luncheon. And then the next day, he went over to the stadium and flipped the coin for the USC Notre Dame football game. So, I think he understood the value of sports, the life lessons you learn in sports, and what it means to be a part of a strong team. And certainly those things did him, were practical for him in his roles.
What was your favorite moment in your professional football career?
My favorite moment, besides payday?
You'd like it now, especially.
I mean, payday was a good day. Then, of course, there were Super Bowls. I think you go back to great moments. The day you get drafted, the day you win the national championship, the day Willie Brown walked into my hotel room and told me I'd made an All-American team my senior year. The first catch you make as a professional, catching a touchdown in the Rose Bowl. I mean, I consider myself beyond lucky. I consider myself to be extraordinarily fortunate to be able to have more than one moment that I can look back on and think it was a great moment and great fondness.
Now you have 4 Super Bowl rings. Will we ever see an era again where you have dynastic teams like the Steelers?
Well, I think that's possible, but you may not see 4 in 6 years. You may see teams like the Patriots that win championships, but over a longer period of time, without necessarily a core of people, the same people. The 49ers, multiple Super Bowl winners, and over a longer period of time. But I think there are only 5 players from that team who had all 4 Super Bowl rings. So I think it's possible. Is it easy? Absolutely not. And we may not see it again. 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. But I think we'll see teams that are considered to be dynasties and consistently strong. I mean, you look at the Steelers and the success they're currently having. They didn't win the last Super Bowl, but they got there, and they continue to press to be competitors, to be in a position to win Super Bowls.
Is there more pressure to win at USC or with the Steelers?
There was more pressure. There was pressure to win everywhere. And sometimes it's not really pressure anybody else puts on you, but pressure you put on yourself. Championship caliber players and individuals, always want to win and always want the best. And so when you look at the amount of pressure they put on themselves to be able to make things happen, it's incredible. So, you look at guys at USC now, guys in college, and there's pressure on them because they want to win now for that school, and there's pressure on them to win because, they want to get drafted. They want to be one of those guys who signs a contract and plays for a pro team and get $1 million. I'm not sure if that's not more pressure than the guy who's already on the team and playing professionally.
Now, when you joined the Steelers in '74, would you ever have imagined Terry Bradshaw becomes a guy who ends up in movies and is a TV star?
Well, Terry gave no indication that that's the direction he wanted to go in when he was a player. But it's something that evolved. It happened for him. He was in the right place at the right time, the right skill set, the right kind of personality to make it work, and he's done well and continues to do well.
You've done pretty well, too. I mean, you've got into TV. We're doing Monday Night Football stuff on ABC. And something a lot of people don't know, you were on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And he's an icon across the U.S., especially in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he started his broadcast at WPGH, I believe it is, and the public broadcasting station. Had phenomenal in terms of his talent and the impact he has had on kids and adults. Around the country. And so being on his show was a lot of fun.
What led you to the world of politics?
There are several things, but I think essentially it was the fact that, I view politics and being an elected official as volunteering, giving your time to help in a big way, in a strong way. And so that's what I was doing. Was never looking to be a professional politician. I was never looking at it as a career. It was always my intent to actually, try and win, have an impact in Pennsylvania, and then step back and go back into the private sector.
Would you ever run for president?
I think I'd have to win something else first.
Would you run for governor again?
I don't know. I mean, I'd never say no. But I think sometimes you start down a path, and there's a need for you to continue. Sometimes there's not a need for you to continue. Sometimes that bigger role is not one you want, or not one you want the pressure of. So you just you step back away from it.
What do you think? Is there more pressure playing professional football or basically running for office? Because, I mean, you're under constant media scrutiny if you run for office.
Well, running for office is certainly much more difficult. And what's required of you in terms of responsibility and for getting things done is more impactful on people. Football is entertainment. Football is a competitive sport. In politics, being governor of a state, you're in a position to change and alter lives in positive and in negative ways, depending on the decisions you make or you don't make.
So, what should we look for from you next?
I don't know that you need to look for anything. I just continue to try and do the things that I believe are important to do. To work hard in business. Certainly, I think celebrating our 40th president's 100th birthday is interesting in a moment in time, and the Ronald Reagan Foundation will celebrate it throughout the year. I think that as a co-owner of the Pittsburgh Power Arena football team, I want to help that team grow, and certainly help Arena Football League grow and get better and stronger. So continue to push down that road.
And we do your charity work, which you're real big on.
Well, Big Brothers and Big Sisters I've worked with now for more than 35 years and sit on the national board. Mentoring has always been important to me, and I think everywhere we look around the country in any job, I mean, certainly, you sitting there in the studio, all of us have been helped by people along the way. And sometimes it's important to have that direct mentor who can help us grow from an adolescent into an adult and be responsible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swann. It was a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure talking with you, and have a great week.
You too. And go Steelers.
I am sure they're looking to go farther this coming weekend than they did last weekend.
It can only get better.
Trust me, only.
It's like the economy. It can only go up. It can't go down.
Yeah, it's like, you have to wonder. Seattle probably wished the Steelers had maybe won and just barely, and maybe got beaten up a little bit along the way. Not that they think that that they can't beat the team if they're at full power, but you don't want an angry Pittsburgh Steelers team to go up against, in addition to being talented.
Exactly. Thank you very much. That was Hall of Famer Lynn Swann.